Hey everyone, it's TK Friday. Today we'll be working on this image from Germany. We'll be using some old techniques, some new techniques. You're going to learn a lot as always, so stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Hey, it's TK Friday again, my favorite day of the week. Today I'll be working on this image by Matthias Jung. Jung, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Matthias, and please forgive me. And Matthias is from Germany, and this image is from the Dahner Felsenland, which I'm probably saying that wrong too, so please forgive me for that as well. And by the way, Matthias has given me permission for everyone to be able to download this image and work on it with me. It's a great way of learning. Now, this image started out as a two-image blend, one for the sky and one for the foreground. And I'm just learning how to do blending myself, blending two different exposures together. And a special thanks to Tony Kuiper for helping me to blend these two images together. Again, I'm still learning how to do it, so I'm not ready to show you a video yet. But if you want to see how to do this, please leave me a comment in the comment section below and say, Dave, show us how to do this. I'm learning myself, as I said, and I'm getting better, and I will be happy to show you. And also, by the way, the image you will be getting will be the one I've already blended, and then we're going to work on it from that point. And by the way, if you don't yet own the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, or you want to purchase some training videos, I will link Tony's website in the description below, and you can save 15% off anything on Tony's site. All you have to do is use my promo code DK15. I make a small commission, and quite frankly, it helps me to keep these TK Friday videos coming your way, which I dearly love to make them each and every week. And also, I want to give a very heartfelt thanks for all of you who watch my videos every TK Friday, and through the week too. I do 3 videos every week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and then TK Friday. When you comment, like, and share, it really helps out my channel, and I really thank you for that. And what can I say? Thank you so much. And now let's get into this. But as I said, the blend started, or maybe I didn't say this, the blend started in Lightroom with the two images, and then I brought those in as smart objects into Photoshop. My top layer is the sky layer, the bottom layer will be the foreground layer, or is the foreground layer, and then I have this layer mask here, as you can see the layer mask. That's what it looks like. And pretty excited about this. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I never was one to blend images, but, I think I'll start doing it more in the future. The image that you download will be at this stage right here. Now, it's going to be a TIFF file. By the way, if anyone out there has some multiple exposure images that you would like me to blend on a TK Friday, I'm sure we would all appreciate it because we'll all learn together. Just email me at edenbridgephotography@gmail.com and I'll tell you how to send them to me. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and do the balance and the contrast that I always like to do. It's already relatively balanced out with this blend, but let's go ahead and come to luminosity, masks, and I'm going to use my typical MIDS 3. It's really for highlight and shadow protection, and we'll just output that to a color grading tool. And then I'll start out, I'll click on the highlight block, and I'm just going to give it a little bit more highlight here, something like that. Then I'm going to come to shadows and just darken down the shadows just a little bit. It's going to add some extra contrast. And then I want to lighten up the midtones. Now this is, I believe it's an early morning shot, or it could be an evening shot. I'm not sure. Maybe Matthias will let us know in the comments section. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the midtones a little bit. And I don't want to overdo it because I want to keep the feel of the time of the day. And I think somewhere around there looks good. Now here is the before and here's the after. So that is always my starting point. And then here's my train of thought when I'm working on an image. I look at the image and I look for the first thing that I think is an issue. And the first thing I see, and can you see it? Right down here, this big rock here. Now I love this rock, but it's so light and it says, look at me. And I'm saying, hey, rock, I like you, but you know what? I don't want to really be drawn to you. I'm going to be drawn to this beautiful little landscape here, or big landscape. This scene almost reminds me of some scenes I see in Pennsylvania in the USA where I live, with a lot of rolling hills and things like that. But it's really beautiful. It looks like a great place to go and contemplate. But for now, I'll contemplate on this rock I want to darken down. Now, how can we do it? Now, there's many different ways of doing things in Photoshop. I'll show you a way that I've used in the past, and I'm going to get the object selection tool. And I'm in the rectangle mode, and I have sample all layers on. Now, I do have hard edge set on there. I will soften that edge, but I'm just going to draw like a rectangle around here, and Photoshop will do a good job in selecting that. And on the TK CX or combo panel, you can find this icon with a feather. If you'll click it, it opens up your feather selection. And I'm going to feather this, I think, I'm going to try 20 pixels. I'm going to click OK. So now it's feathered. And I'm going to X out of this. And if we take a look here, if you want to see what that selection looks like, you can come up here and click on this icon. And this lets you edit your selection. But you can see there's that feathering on there. So I think that's going to work. So let me go ahead and load it back up here. So what I'll do at this point is come up here to my channels and click on active selection. And then I'm going to output that to a color grading tool. And what I'll do is just take the midtones and just start to drag this to the left and just darken that down just to take the edge off it. Maybe somewhere right around there. Now there's the before and there's the after. And I think that feathering around the edge does a nice job of just getting the darkening effect just on the rock itself. Now, I still think this area right in here is a little too light, and this area is a little too light. So let me think how I can tackle that. But before I do that, I want to lower the saturation a little bit on this rock. So let's see, here's the before and here's the after. See how it picks up a little more saturation? It looks anyway like it has more saturation since I darkened it. So let me show you a little trick here. Let's go and grab a hue saturation layer. And we can clip it to the rock only by coming to the TKCX or combo panel and clicking this little paper clip. Think about that, clip, paper clip. And then just take the saturation and it's only going to affect that rock. Do you see that? And I just want to ease that saturation off just a little bit. And then you can also alter the hue of it if you needed to. But I think it looks really good right where it is. But here's the before. And here's the after. So it's really minimal. I might take a little bit more off it. Maybe right around there. And I think I'm going to go back to the previous color grading tool. Now, when you go back to a color grading tool, you go on that layer. You're going to have to click this color grading icon again. And I always like to check, or not check, but click this right here. And you can see there's that adjustment. Now, if I click on this block, you can see there's where it's darkened. Now, I'm going to darken it a little bit more. Okay, and now let's look at the hue saturation. Here's the before and here's the after. But it just takes the edge off it just a little wee bit. And to me, it's paying attention to these little details as you're editing. It's really going to pay big dividends. It may not seem like much, but all these little things add up to a great final result. And I still want to darken up these two areas here and here a little bit. And I did think about that. So what I'm going to do is let's X out of here. Now I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to get a color grading tool. And as you know, I love this color grading tool. It's so awesome. I'm just going to click on midtones. Well, it's not active. I'm glad that came up. The active layer is not an appropriate color grading layer, okay? I'll click OK. And the reason being is you got to click the plus here. And I'm leaving this mistake in because I do this all the time. Click the plus, and that adds a new color grading tool. So now I'm going to click the midtone block and just look at this area, and the whole image will get dark, okay? But I'm just looking at that area in there. And I'm going to darken it a little extra because we can always come back and change it if we need to. It's non-destructive, okay? Now, typically what I do after I make this adjustment is I shut this layer off by clicking this eye. But I'm going to do something differently now because I think this is something Tony changed in one of the recent updates in the TK8 plugin. And that is, I could change this to a black layer mask by clicking this icon right here in the CX or combo panel, and that hides my adjustment, so that's pretty cool. And now I can X out of here, and I'm going to come up and get a zone mask. I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to click some of this lighter area right in here that I want to darken down, and click OK. And then the zone mask will pick that area. Now I'm going to tighten up that selection, maybe somewhere right around there, and I might even lighten it up a little bit. And what I'm going to do at this point is I want to paint this on, paint through a selection. So if you come here to the black, to this black background with a white brush and click this, that's going to give you Again, a black mask. I already had one, but I used the black mask just to hide it. But now I'm painting through a selection. You can see the marching ants here show me I have an active selection. Now I have a brush, and I'm going to put my brush at about 50%, and it sets me up. The panel does set me up with a black brush. Or no, it sets me up with a white brush because I'm painting on a black mask. It's smarter than me, as you can see. And so what I'll do is I'll start to paint my adjustment on here at that 50% opacity. And I just want to darken that up a little bit, and I'm going to paint on this area. And remember, I'm going through a zone mask selection. Okay, so right here. And you don't have to paint every area if you don't want to. Like, I feel these areas need a little darker in here. That's okay over there. And I might just darken this down a couple times and hit this once in here. But this is where you just have to make those creative decisions. Now, take a look. Here is the before, and here's the after. So I like it. And you can always come back up to the color grading tool and make sure you click this. Make sure you click on this block to make it active, and then you can darken it up some more or less, whatever you think. And I think right there looks pretty good. Now let's take a look. Here's the before and here's the after. And remember, to look at your mask, all you need to do is click the double arrow icon. Now there is your mask, and click it again, and now you're back to the image itself. Okay, what's next? Now, I know there are some out there who are going to be mad at me. They're going to say, Dave, you didn't do a roadmap this week. Okay, I did not do one, and I apologize, but I just really want you to see how I really dig into an image and try to determine, really what is next, because you sit down and you look at your image and you're not sure what to do, really, but then it really starts to talk to you, and it says, I need this area fixed. Can you fix me, Dave? And I say, I'll try. And sometimes it can be challenging, but we have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, and we can pretty much do anything we want in Photoshop with the aid of this plugin. By the way, I went ahead and did something. I put these two blended layers into a group called Image Blend, just so we can see an overall before and after, because I always like to see how I'm advancing in my edit. So that's a good tip. After you blend it, it's not a bad idea to put the blend inside of a group. And so if I option click this eye here, I can see here is the before and here is the after. So I think we're moving along in a nice direction. I'm just going to close this group down. It's still active. It's just we're not seeing its layers. I'm thinking about just opening up all the midtones a little bit. So I'm going to do a technique I've been doing in the past couple TK Friday videos, and I'm going to X out the color grading tool. I'm going to come up to luminosity masks and get the midtones 1 mask, and I'm going to output that to just a curves adjustment layer. I'm not going to be using the curve. I'm just going to click on that. But what I'll do is, in fact, I'm going to close the properties. I'm just using it for a blend mode, okay? I'm stealing it to use it as a blend mode. Sorry, curves, but I feel like doing that today. So I'm going to change the blend mode to screen, and as you can see, I've lightened up the midtones with that screen blend mode. Now, that's not bad. It might be a little too bright, so I'm going to take the opacity and just pull it back. Usually what I like to do is take it the whole way off and then just build it up slowly. And when I get to a point where my eye says, hey, that looks really nice, not only does the image talk to me, but my eye talks to me. Here's the before, and here's the after. I might need therapy. No comment on that. Now, next, I'm looking over here at this side of the image, and to me, I'm thinking, it's not bad, but I'm thinking this whole area in here just looks a little too light, so I want to balance that out a bit. So to do that, I'm going to go up and I'm going to try. There's a lot of green in here, so when I think things like, well, there's a lot of green, that's what kind of triggers me to say, well, why don't you try one of these color masks, and we have all these masks. We have zone masks, luminosity masks, we have color masks, hue saturation masks. Really nice stuff. So I'm going to come here and find some of these tones in here, and a lot of these tones in here are really sticking out to me. So I'm going to click right here and click OK and see what kind of mask we get. Not bad. It's dark, right? But we can take care of that. We can take this slider and drag it to the right, and we can lighten that whole area up, okay? And then we can also adjust here by dragging this over a little bit and dragging this over just to see if we can encompass more. And right about there looks good, and I might make it a little bit lighter. And now I'll go ahead and output this to a color grading tool. I'll just click on this color grading tool. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different because again, there's all kind of ways to do things in Photoshop and with the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. So I'm going to show you various ways. You may say, I like this way, Dave. I didn't like that other way. So use the one you feel most comfortable with. But there's many ways of doing this adjustment here. But there we go. So now I'm going to take the midtone adjustment here on the color grading tool. And we have the mask, so if we double click, or not double click, or click the double icon, we can see that's the area selected. Now it's selecting more than I want, but that's not a problem. So let's click this again and get back to the image. And let's just look in this area, and we're just going to darken it down like this. Okay? And I don't want to go too far, but maybe somewhere around there we can always come back and readjust. But I'm going to do something which is an old technique with the TK panels, and that is called masking the mask. And I learned this from Sean Bagshaw many years ago in training videos that I purchased. So I'm going to go ahead and put this adjustment in a group. If you click on the right side, you'll put it in a group with a white mask, or if you click on the left side, you'll put it in a group with a black mask, which will hide everything. And then with a white brush, we can paint our adjustment on. Now, obviously, I chose the black mask, and I have a white brush. And by the way, you have your brush tools here. If you want a black brush, click here. If you want a white here, you want a color brush and a color picker to come up, click here, or a gray brush, which comes in handy too. But let's click on the white brush, and what I want to do is make my brush relatively large, and I think I'm going to change my opacity from 50% to 100. I'm just going to type my 0 key on my keyboard, and I'm just going to paint freely in here and just darken that. Now it's going to stay away from the tree because it's only looking for those greens, right? So we can go like that. And I think that's pretty good. So let's take a look. And this is a sloppy looking mask, and I'll show it to you. It doesn't really matter. And you notice here I had a nice feathered edge on my brush. So that's cool. And so let's take a look. Here is the before, and here's the after. And you notice it stayed away from the tree. Now I could come here. This is still active, the color grading tool. And if it's too dark, whoops. Now you notice I'm going to leave this mistake in. The active layer is not an appropriate color grading. I'm going to click OK. Because it's not. I'm on the group, right? So, Dave, you got to get in here. So click on here. And I'm leaving this in because you'll make this mistake. I know you will. So I'm clicking on that. And now it should work. So I'm going to go here and lighten that up a little bit. And you can see that, okay? I'll lighten it way up so you can really see, okay? So, but I want it to be a little darker. So right down around here. Now here is the before and here's after. So it just tones that down. Now these are just the little attention to details. Again, they pay big dividends at the end of your edit. Let's do a progress check. I'm going to hold the Option key down or the Alt key on a PC and click on this image blend group. And there's the before and there's the after. So I'm liking it. I'm moving in the right direction, hopefully. I went ahead and zoomed into this tree because I almost forgot. There's a lot of chromatic aberration in here. And I did remove chromatic aberrations in Lightroom, but this is just the light coming off of that distant sun over there on the edge of the trees. It's really throwing this chromatic aberration onto here. So let's take care of that with a chromatic aberration action. Lightroom couldn't get rid of it, but you know what? The TK8 plugin for Photoshop can. Let's go ahead and come to the TK actions in the CX panel or the combo panel, whichever you're using, and find chromatic aberrations and give that a click. Let me move this out of the way, and look, they're gone. Now, if you click the preview, you can see there they are, and there they are gone. So they're totally gone, but usually what I like to do is take the radius and drag it to the left, and then I'll watch for the chromatic aberrations, and I'll start to drag this up, and I'll stop, because I don't want to do overkill. I'll stop at a point where they're totally gone, and I think maybe right around there looks pretty good, and I'll click OK. Now watch what happens when I click OK. They're back. Now, why is that? Well, the reason they're back, and this is really cool because it's built into the panel, they're back because we have a black mask hiding that adjustment. Now, if I'm on this layer right here and I click the X and disable the mask, you can see they're gone. And now they're back because I have a black mask. Because this is designed that I can paint with a white brush on this mask and then I can remove them. But I'm going to show you a little trick today. And somebody commented in my last tutorial, And in fact, it was Rebecca Stiles. And she said you can run the correct CA action and then apply an edge mask to just allow the CA correction to be applied to just the edges instead of painting it out. It works fantastically. And you know what? Rebecca is 100% right. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Come up to the TK8 multi-mask panel and click on this icon with a flower on it. And this opens up your edge masks. Now you have a minimize edge mask and you have a maximize, you have a blur tool and an invert tool. We're going to be using the maximize, so click on the maximize. And I want you to notice something. You see this area right in here? This is not what you want. You want this entire area to be filled in. So what I'm going to do is take this radius and drag this up just till that area gets filled in here, because that's called a double edge, and you don't want that. You don't want any type of a double edge. And I think I have a little one right in here. Okay, I think right around there is going to be pretty good. And I'm just going to move around on the image and see if I have any of those double edges. And I don't think I see any, so I think we're going to be good. And once you're satisfied, all you have to do is click OK. And now we just need to output it to our chromatic aberration layer by clicking this icon right here. And you'll notice now it is on our layer and our chromatic aberrations are gone. I'll shut this layer off and you can see there they are. And when I turn it back on, they are removed. Now let me go ahead and zoom back out. The only area I saw the chromatic aberrations were on this tree here, so there's no need to put it on the entire image. So I'm going to go ahead and mask the mask. So I have this layer active. I'm going to click on the black group, which will put a group here with a black mask hiding everything. And now with a white brush at 100% opacity, I can just liberally paint right over this area here, and it's only going to remove chromatic aberrations here because that is where they're at. And so now we can move on. How many of you like the soft pop action? It's a really cool action. It adds a little bit of pop to the image. Let me know in the comment section below if you like it. I'm going to go ahead and click on the TK actions and find soft pop right here. I'm going to click it. That action will run, and let's see what happens here. Here it is. Here is the before, and here's the after. But you notice it gives it a nice little detail bump, little extra saturation. It looks really nice. Now that's really strong. So what I'm going to do is take this opacity, and I'm going to take it the whole way off. And I'm just going to drag it up slowly, and I just want to add a little bit of that soft pop in there. And I'm thinking maybe right around 50%. Now here is the before, and here is the after. So I like that. I think that looks really nice. After pausing the video and studying it a couple minutes here, I noticed my eye is going back to this area right in here. So I want to tone that down a little bit. Let's see, what can we do there? And this looks like a job for the zone mask. So let me go ahead first and add a color grading tool. I have to click the plus. I'm not going to forget this time. And I'm going to click the mid-tone block. It's generally the one I try first. And I'm just going to look at that area and darken it down like that. And we can always come back and readjust. Remember, let's put a black mask on there just to hide that adjustment. And I'm thinking, let's X out of here. I'm thinking a zone mask will work. So let's find the tone back in here that represents this area right here and click OK. And see what the zone mask does here. And it's doing a really nice job, but let's go ahead and tighten it up. Lighten and tighten. Okay, that's what I always like to say, but right like that, and we can lighten it a little bit here. And I think that's pretty good. Now I'm just going to paint in there. So we're going to go to a black mask, painting through a selection with white paint. So we click right here. And now we have our brush, and all I need to do is, I'm going to go down to about 50% opacity and start to paint in this area here. And just darken it up a bit and see what we get. I'm going to hit it another time through here and here, a couple times through here. And by George, I think we've got it. Let's take a look. Here's the before and here's the after. It just kind of tones that down. Now remember, we're on the color grading layer, so let's click on the color grading tool. Click this icon and let's click on the mid-tone block. We can darken it by moving this more to the left, even more. And I don't know, I'm going to settle on that for now. And again, here is the before and here's the after. Let's see the overall before and after. I'm going to come down to the image blend layer option, or I'll click this. Here is the overall before and the after. I'm going to finish this off with some freehand dodging and burning, and then we'll be done. How about dodging first? Let's get out of this selection. We have the selection indicator saying you got a selection. We don't want that anymore, so click right here and you'll deselect it. Let's click on the dodge tool. I always like to dodge with the left side of the tool, which gives me a 50% gray layer in the overlay blend mode. And I'm going to make my brush real small. And what I'm seeing is this little mist back up in here. I'm going to go down to a 5% dodge. I'm going to type 0.5 on my keyboard to give me 5%. And I'm painting with white paint. And all I'm going to do is just paint on here. I don't want to get it too light, but there's a little bit of mist in here. And I just want to accent that mist. There might be a little bit over in here. I'm just going to hit a little bit of that. And maybe back in here. I might hit this another time. I always whisper, and I think there was a little bit of mist right over here. Let's take a look. Here is the before, and here is the after. Again, the before and the after. And I think that's pretty good. It just adds that little bit of mist. And now let's do some burning. So it's going to be freehand. I'm going to click on the left side of the burn tool. Again, it's going to give me 50% gray with a soft light this time, because this was what? That was an overlay. This is a soft light. And now I'm going to go down to about like 10%. And I'm just going to burn this rock here a little bit. Okay, just... it's little nooks and crannies. It's like an English muffin, So I'm just going to accent some of these little shadow areas, and it'll add some depth and dimension to this rock. And you can take your time and go over this whole image and dodge and burn it. And I recommend that you really study it out and just have some fun with it, really. Okay. And then on this tree, to add depth and dimension to a tree, on the shadow side is add a little bit of extra shadow with burning like this. And it'll make that tree look more like three-dimensional, okay? So I'm just hitting the left side of the tree a little bit there. Let's take a look. Here is the before, and here is the after. And again, the before and the after. And I'm going to leave it at that, so have some fun. You can play with these other rocks, and I don't want this tutorial getting too long, but I think at this point, we've come from here, and we've gone to this point here. Well, there it is, everyone. I hope you give this one a try. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today, and thank you, Matthias, for the use of your image, letting us all learn from it. It is a beautiful image over in Germany, so thank you so very much for that. If you enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe, click that bell notification icon. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, as always, happy editing.